Mr. President, what does Wike have on you that he can openly challenge you and still tell you not to interfere in Rivers politics? By Professor John Ibiazin Oshodi. Nigeria has entered a strange psychological space. People are not merely listening to political speeches. They are studying body language, tone and authority. They watch a sitting minister, Nyesom Wike, speak with a level of confidence that does not resemble submission to higher authority. They see him warning party officials. He even went to warn a king the other day in Rivers State. They see him warning party officials, lecturing senior political figures and behaving as though his voice carries immunity. What shocks people most is not that a politician is bold. Nigerian politics has always had bold personalities. What shocks them is that the system around him appears afraid to respond. That silence is what disturbs the collective mind of the nation. Silence, when it comes from the highest level of leadership, it becomes more powerful than sound. It creates psychological confusion. Citizens begin to wonder who truly holds authority, who controls the narrative, and who sets the limit. In psychological terms, silence in the face of open defiance sends the message that boundaries no longer exist. People start to believe there are private deals, personal leverage, and quiet fears operating behind official doors. That perception alone is enough to destabilize trust in governance. In many democracies, ministers speak with caution because they understand that they serve under a president and within institutions, yet Wike speaks as though he owns territories. When he declares that Rivers State is a no-go area, he is not just describing loyalty. He is claiming personal sovereignty. When he says, leave Rivers State alone, he is not negotiating political influence. He is drawing emotional borders. When he adds, anything you say, you take it, he is evoking the psychology of warning, suggesting that anyone who crosses a certain invisible line will face the consequences. This is no longer political rhetoric. It is the speech pattern of someone who views himself as irreplaceable. It represents the kind of language seen among leaders who believe that institutions revolve around them rather than restrain them. The deeper danger is not what he says, but what people begin to internalize. That political survival is determined not by law or governance, but by proximity to certain powerful personalities. That is the seed of authoritarian thinking. The perception remains widely held that Wike played a major role in helping Bola Ahmed Tinubu secure support in Rivers State during the 2023 elections, even if we strip the story down to its simplest form. One thing is clear, Wike believes he delivered something great, and when a political actor believes he delivered something essential, he automatically feels old. That sense of old loyalty becomes a silent currency. Receiving the office of FCT Minister was interpreted by many as reinforcement of that belief. Instead of seeing his appointment as national responsibility, Wike appears to view it as a validation of personal relevance. The psychology shifts from service to entitlement. He no longer behaves like someone appointed by the president. He behaves like someone who assisted the president and is therefore beyond reprimand. That's the way he behaves. The moment political loyalty transforms into psychological depth, democracy becomes hostage to personal transactions. Wike rarely speaks directly against President Tinubu, but instead he directs confrontation at party leaders and political actors around the president. This is not fear, it is strategy. By attacking others, he forces attention upward without naming his true target. He creates a psychological situation in which everyone understands who he is really speaking to, yet he maintains plausible distance. When Wike publicly declared he could challenge anybody and that Rivers State was off limits to interference, the message hovered above the entire system like a challenge to authority itself. Every time he makes statements of this nature and no consequences follows, his confidence grows and the public perception of presidential strength weakens. What we witness here is not courage, but testing behavior repeated to see where resistance truly exists. The day Governor Siminalayi Fubara stood at Aso Rock beside the president and received warm acknowledgement was psychologically significant. To many viewers, it symbolized reconciliation. To Wike, it likely symbolized loss of control. The man he once mentored now stood under the umbrella of higher power without his political permission. In political psychology, betrayal often triggers aggressive assertion. From that moment forward, Wike's speeches carry stronger tones of anger and dominance. What the nation has been seeing is pride attempting to reassert itself. When pride goes unchecked and connects with political authority, it begins to move from leadership behavior into control behavior, exactly, and that shift is dangerous for any democratic environment. Wike frequently evokes the renewed hope agenda. On the surface, it sounds patriotic. He encourages Rivers people to think beyond party labels and focus on development, but psychologically, something else is occurring. By loudly aligning himself with the president's central narrative, he wraps himself in symbolic protection. Anyone who criticizes him can be reframed as attacking the renewed hope vision. He slowly becomes interpreter, protector, and judge of who supports the agenda. Hope becomes the bargaining currency. Loyalty becomes insulation, and the subtle message that flows towards Abuja is simple. Remember who positioned himself as your strongest field defender. Do not question my authority in my zone. The strategy is clever, but it is unhealthy for democratic institutions. Wike may believe he stands beyond consequence because of his political role. History suggests otherwise. Institutions move slowly, but they move. Audits open, disclosures re-examined, ethics revisited, law reawakened. Political noise fades when documentation appears. No one remains permanently beyond scrutiny, especially not those who repeatedly test the state authority. This argument is not born from hostility, it is a plea for stability. Nigeria cannot afford ministers who believe they outrank discipline. The healthier solution is simple. Wike should reflect deeply and resign on his own terms. Wike will resign. If I hear that Wike resigns, or the president must restore order by clearly defining boundaries. Democracy requires clarity, not ambiguity. Leadership involves emotional maturity. When leaders speak impulsively, citizens absorb anxiety. When authorities choose silence in moments requiring firmness, the nation's psyche becomes unsettled. Healing begins when leaders act with thoughtful restraint, self-awareness, and courage. My final appeal is reflective rather than confrontational. Wike needs inner reflection more than applause. That man, does he look like somebody that would do that? The man is arrogant. That's the problem with him. He's arrogant, he's greedy. He feels that nobody is above him. He is above every other person. It's even the president. If anything happens today, Wike would expose everything about the election in 2023 to us. That's how bad he is. The president needs firm clarity more than political comfort. Nigeria needs psychological calm more than the dramatic political theater. A nation stabilizes when leaders regulate themselves. No country is beyond healing when truth is spoken carefully and boundaries are restored. Dr. John Ibiazin Oshodi. Thank you for listening. See you some other time. Bye.